In the small coastal town, there lived Derek, a 35-year-old man who carried in his eyes the sadness of someone who had seen better times. His brown hair, once well kept, now fell dishevelled over his forehead, and his unshaven beard gave him a neglected appearance. Derek worked as an accountant at a local company, but his heart was no longer in it. 3 years before, Derek was known for his unwavering faith and infectious smile. He attended church every Sunday and actively participated in community activities. His life revolved around two pillars: his faith and his father, Roger, a kind man who had raised Derek alone after the untimely death of his mother. When Roger was diagnosed with a terrible illness, Derek remained steadfast, believing that his faith would be enough to cure his father. For months he divided his time between work, the hospital, and the church, praying tirelessly for Roger's recovery. However, despite all the efforts and prayers, Roger passed away on a rainy autumn afternoon. The loss of his father was a blow from which Derek never fully recovered. His faith, once unwavering, crumbled like a sandcastle hit by a strong wave. He stopped attending church, distanced himself from friends, and plunged into an abyss of sadness and loneliness. On that cold winter night, Derek found himself sitting at the counter of a seaside bar that he had started frequenting regularly in recent years. The place was cosy, with dark wooden walls decorated with fishing nets and old anchors. The smell of the sea mingled with the aroma of beer and fried seafood. Derek ordered another shot of whiskey, ignoring the worried look from the bartender, an elderly man with grey hair who had known him since he was a child. The hours passed, and when the bar finally closed, Derek stumbled to his car, an old blue sedan parked on the deserted street. The road that led to Derek's house wound along the coast, offering stunning ocean views during the day. That night, however, all that could be seen was darkness, broken only by the car's headlights and the distant glow of the stars. Then it happened. It may have been a combination of alcohol, fatigue, and the slippery road due to frost. Derek's car skidded on a curve, spinning out of control before crashing into a deep ditch at the roadside. The impact was violent. Derek, trapped within the twisted wreckage, struggled to stay conscious. The pain was intense, and the biting cold of the early morning penetrated through the broken windows. He tried to reach for his cell phone, but it had vanished in the chaos of the accident. The hours passed slowly. Derek, alternating between moments of lucidity and unconsciousness, felt the cold intensify. His thoughts wandered between memories of his father and the terrible reality of his current situation. It was then, in a moment of desperation, that he did something he hadn't done in years. He prayed. "If there's someone up there," he murmured weakly, "please help me. Give me a sign. Anything." It was at that moment that Derek saw a face. It was an angelic face, framed by black hair that seemed to shine with the light of dawn. He reached out, trying to grasp that vision, before losing consciousness once again. The face Derek saw belonged to Taylor, a 28-year-old young woman who worked as a receptionist in the city. Taylor had expressive green eyes and a warm smile that lit up any space. That morning, she was driving to work when she spotted the wreckage of Derek's car. Without hesitation, Taylor pulled her small red car over to the side of the road and ran toward the accident. Seeing Derek trapped in the wreckage, she immediately called emergency services. "Please come quickly," she pleaded with the dispatcher. "There's a man trapped in a crashed car on the coastal road, about 5 kilometers from the city. He seems seriously injured." While waiting for the rescue to arrive, Taylor approached the car. It was then that Derek briefly regained consciousness. "Don't leave me here alone," he murmured, reaching out his trembling hand towards Taylor. "Don't abandon me." Taylor's heart tightened at the sight of the desperation in his eyes. Without a second thought, she held Derek's hand, feeling the coldness of his fingers. "It's okay," she whispered, trying to convey calmness. "Help is on the way. I'll stay here with you." The minutes that followed felt like hours. Taylor spoke softly to Derek, trying to keep him conscious and comfortable. She noticed the strong smell of alcohol but made no judgment. At that moment, all that mattered was that a life was in danger. When the sirens finally announced the arrival of the rescue team, Taylor felt immense relief. The paramedics worked quickly to remove Derek from the wrecked car. Taylor was about to leave, thinking her role was over, when she heard Derek's weak voice again. "Please don't leave me." Taylor looked at her watch. She was already late for work, and her boss was not known for being understanding. But seeing Derek's pleading look, she couldn't refuse. With a sigh, she climbed into the ambulance beside him. During the journey to the hospital, Derek oscillated between consciousness and delirium. In the moments when he was lucid, he looked at Taylor as if she were a divine apparition. "Are you real?" he asked once, his voice almost inaudible. "Yes, I am real," Taylor replied softly, holding his hand. "You are safe now." Upon arriving at the hospital, Taylor watched Derek being rushed inside. She stood still for a few moments, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and relief. Then, remembering her responsibilities, she called a taxi to return to the accident site and retrieve her car. When she got there, Taylor discovered she had received a ticket for illegal parking. Frustrated, she also noticed that her favourite sweater, a gift from her grandmother, was stained with blood. With a heavy sigh, she got into her car and drove to work, knowing she was hours late. As expected, her boss, a middle-aged man with little patience, called her into his office as soon as she arrived. Taylor tried to explain the extraordinary situation she had found herself in, but he didn't want to listen. "I'm sorry, Taylor," he said coldly, "but I can't tolerate this kind of irresponsibility. You're fired." Taylor left the office feeling stunned. In a matter of hours, she had saved a life, lost her job, received a ticket, and even ruined her favourite sweater. As she drove home, she couldn't help but think about the man she had helped. She sincerely hoped he was okay. The weeks that followed were difficult for Taylor. She sent out dozens of resumes but rarely received responses. The bills began to pile up, and the worry grew with each passing day. However, despite the hardships, she did not regret helping Derek that fateful morning. Finally, after almost a month of searching, Taylor received a call for a job interview at a medical clinic in the city centre. On the appointed day, she put on her best outfit, a navy blue blazer over a white blouse and a pencil skirt, and headed to the location with her heart full of hope. The clinic was a modern 3-story building with large glass windows reflecting the blue sky. Taylor entered the reception hall, a spacious and well-lit area decorated with plants and serene landscape paintings. She introduced herself to the receptionist, who asked her to wait. While waiting, Taylor observed the clinic's activity. Doctors and nurses hurried by, and patients came and went. It was then that the door opened, and a man entered, walking with difficulty, supported by crutches. The moment their eyes met, there was an instant of mutual recognition. The man's eyes widened, and a smile lit up his face. "My angel!" he exclaimed, his voice full of emotion. "My heroine! I can't believe we finally met!" Taylor was speechless as she recognised Derek, the man she had helped save weeks before. He looked very different now, clean, shaved, and with a sparkle in his eyes that hadn't been present that fateful morning. "You," Taylor began, still surprised. "You're okay?" Derek limped over to her, his smile never wavering. "Thanks to you," he said. "I wanted so much to thank you personally, but no one knew who you were or how to find you. You were the answer to my prayers at that moment." Taylor couldn't help but give an ironic smile. "Well, you've only brought me bad luck," she joked, although there was a hint of truth in her words. Curious, Derek and Taylor sat side by side in the waiting room, and she recounted everything that had happened that day: the ticket, the ruined sweater, the job loss. Derek listened intently, his face a mix of gratitude and guilt. "I'm sorry for all of that," he said when she finished. "But you know, I have a feeling that our meeting today wasn't a coincidence. Something tells me something good is going to happen." At that moment, Taylor was called for her interview and Derek for his physical therapy session. They said goodbye. promising to meet again. The interview went surprisingly well. The clinic director was impressed with Taylor's experience and even more so with her story of having helped a stranger in danger. At the end of the conversation, he offered her the job on the spot. In the weeks that followed, Taylor and Derek met regularly at the clinic. She, now working at the reception, and he, continuing his physiotherapy treatment. With each meeting, they exchanged smiles, kind words, and small jokes. Derek gradually shared his story with Taylor, the loss of his father, the crisis of faith, the years of sadness. He confessed that the accident had been a turning point in his life, making him realize how much he had lost himself and how much he wanted to change. Taylor, in turn, shared her dreams and aspirations, her struggles and hopes. It was during a sunny afternoon while Derek was waiting for his session that he finally gathered the courage to ask Taylor out on a date. "I know this might seem strange," he said, a slight blush on his cheeks, "but I would like to properly thank you for saving my life. How about dinner?" Taylor's heart raced. She had started to develop feelings for Derek, but she didn't dare to admit it even to herself. With a shy smile, she accepted the invitation. Their first date was at a small seaside restaurant. The sound of the waves provided a perfect soundtrack as they talked, laughed, and shared stories. Derek, now able to walk without crutches, held Taylor's hand across the table. "You know," he said, his eyes shining in the candlelight, "that morning changed my life in so many ways. Not only did you save my life, but you made me believe again. In miracles, in second chances, in love." In the months that followed, Derek and Taylor's relationship blossomed. They explored the city together, walked on the beach at sunset, and spent cozy nights watching movies. Derek rediscovered his faith, not only in the divine but in the goodness of people and the possibilities of life. Taylor, in turn, found in Derek a partner who supported and inspired her to be the best version of herself. 1 year after the accident, Derek knelt in the sand and proposed to Taylor. With tears in her eyes, she accepted, knowing that moment was the culmination of a journey that had begun with an act of kindness on a cold winter morning. What had started as a day of tragedy and misfortune had transformed into the beginning of a beautiful love story. They had learned that sometimes the greatest challenges in life can lead to the greatest blessings, and that love can blossom in the most unexpected places. That night marked not only the beginning of their engagement, but also the continuation of a journey of love, faith, and second chances, a journey that had begun with a simple act of compassion on a lonely road. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.